What's up, everybody? We are back. It is Wednesday night. Time for a very special Mythic Conversations. I know I say that all the time, but they're all special, right? Try to make them all special at least. But no, tonight is one that I don't have to try to make special. It is doubly special because we have a great guest and a great topic. We are going to reveal the first exclusives from LegionsCon 2025 right here tonight. And to do that, I wanted someone who I've just enjoy talking to. At the end of the day, a lot of the guests that I have on my show, I try to find guests that, are relevant to the subject matter. And I also like to find guests that I just enjoy spending some time with. Tonight, we get to do both of those. Please welcome David Williams, everybody.
Hi, everybody.
David, thank you very much for being here this evening. I'm thrilled to have you and talk to you for a little while.
Thanks for having me, man. I'm super excited about this one.
Yeah, so I know everyone is excited for us to get right into the tale of the Crossroads. But before we do that, talk about a little bit of news. We are at Forestman Studios right in the midst of like a crazy span of shows. This past weekend, I was in New Jersey for ToyCon New Jersey, and we also had a street team event out in Chicago at Kane County Toy Show. This coming weekend, once again, we got two different shows. This is true East Coast, West Coast. Over here on the East Coast, we've got, your friends and mine from Team Wolf King. Len is going to be running the show at the Lehigh Valley Toy Show, and you are going to be involved in a show out there on the West Coast. Take a few minutes and tell us a little bit about what is going on this coming Saturday.
Well, this coming Saturday in somewhere near Sacramento. I'm not crazy familiar with the area, but we're going to have a Mythic meetup where we'll have Iz Ramirez, Nate Barch, Owen Erdling, Sir Wayne himself, and a bunch of Mythic toys for sale. We did this 2 years ago, or the first year I went was about 2 years ago, and it was a blast. And though I missed last year, I saw that it got quite a bit bigger. So this year they've changed locations to a bigger space.
Yep.
And hopefully it'll be a good turnout. It looks to be a lot of fun, and the weather's looking like it's going to be beautiful too.
That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, this is one of the ads that they put together for this West Coast Mythic meetup, the third annual. Iz Ramirez, as you mentioned, he's been running this for a couple years, wanting to do something out there on the West Coast. Looking at this list, it is a really cool list of people. I know that Curtis is out there as well. He's traveling. He just happened to be out there, so he's going to be at the event as well. But very, very exciting. This is going to be a lot of fun. You mentioned it's near Sacramento. This says that it's in Citrus Heights, California, which, according to is very, very near Sacramento. So, yeah, this looks like it's going to be a lot of fun. It's I know a lot of people have asked us to do more West Coast shows. Between me being in Anaheim earlier this year, this one up near Sacramento, and then us coming to San Diego Comic-Con, 3 California appearances in 1 year is definitely a step up from what we've done the last few.
Yeah. And I said it on, I was on Brick Something on Sunday, and I said it on that show, and I'll say it again, like, this is kind of the time to put your money where your mouth is. When everybody's requesting a West Coast show, you got to show up for it to continue. So it seems to be something that everybody's interested in on our side of the country. So hopefully we're looking at a decent turnout.
Yeah, the West Coast is tough. I mean, like, so when I did Anaheim earlier this year, we got a great turnout. And the people that came out were like really genuinely thrilled that we were there. But like, I mean, just California is so incredibly large that distance from, one area to another is extreme. And, you definitely hear people that are like, oh, that's 5 hours away. That's too far. But you look over here on the East Coast and like you have people that will drive from North Carolina all the way to Pennsylvania or New Jersey or Connecticut to go to a show. So, definitely, I think what you just said about put your money where your mouth is, there's something to be said for that. But also, if we are in the general vicinity, take advantage of that. Because, 5 hours, while it's certainly a drive, we might not get much closer to where you happen to be.
Exactly. Yeah, we did a street team event, me and Thomas Belay, in Phoenix, which is about 2 hours away from me. And it was another show where the people that did show up were so excited to have Horseman stuff there. Yeah. Because it is just so few and far between out here.
Yeah. So if you check out on Full Horseman Studios, or I should say on Source Horseman, if you check out our website, sourcehorseman.com/events, that's got all of our list of events, and it's got links to these 2 events that we're talking about this weekend. If you want more information about those, there are links that you can use to get those on there. With that, David, we are going to kind of segue right into jumping into LegionsCon. So speaking of events, LegionsCon it's the big one. It is the event that everyone looks forward to every year, rightfully so. You've been a part of LegionsCon now for the last few years. This is always an exciting time for me personally because, I get to have, obviously a very big hand in the LegionsCon figures. We start working on them so far in advance. Like, we started working on these before last LegionsCon even happened. So whenever we get to this part of the year where we can start revealing them, it's kind of like finally we get this stuff out here. So I'm very excited to do this. Last year, you were involved not only as an exhibitor at LegionsCon, but that was really your first time kind of being announced as a Full Horseman contributing artist. We announced at the show that you're doing some work on the Rise of the Dark 4 book, and you actually did the art for the pins last year for LegionsCon as well.
Yeah, it was this time of year is kind of like the snowball that starts like all the excitement. I remember in 2021, that was the Sir Gerard figure, right?
Yes.
21. And I watched it from home and I was like, I'm never, ever going to miss a LegionsCon. I'm going to fly out for this one-day event that's apparently in a cafeteria. And, as it got bigger and bigger, the next year when you did the reveals for the Furious 4, I was watching that episode of My Wife Is Going to Kill Me. And it gets you so much more excited every time. The second you open up the rooms, you start looking at flights and you start like, for me, I have to start painting stuff and making stuff. And, with last year, it was like being, having the project to do the pins. It was like, this is real. This is coming fast, But so this year's no different. I mean, it was, the first few months of the year, we just kind of hang out and, we get surprise drops here and there. But the second we start talking about LegionsCon, that's it.
So your involvement in this project, I contacted you a short time ago and I was like, hey man, I need some art for the packaging for one of the LegionsCon sets. And this particular set, I'm really excited about this set because it's something that, I don't want to say it's personal to me, but it's something that I kind of cooked up. And I'm just really excited. I get weirdly obsessed with certain things. And there's a lot of the things that I'm obsessed with that put into this. But you just mentioned the Furious 4 set. You know, what I'm wearing my Furious 4 shirt, ironically. That set, the way that was presented and the mixing and matching and the fact that the characters go together and, you know, one figure can make multiple characters. That's all stuff that I've really, really loved. Not to give Steven and the guys bigger heads than they already have, but to me, that is my favorite LegionsCon set that we've done. So part of this set for this year was I wanted to top that. So when I came up with this idea, we were talking about the art for it, and we needed to find a way. Nate was so busy with some other projects that we were like, well, what else can we do for this piece of art? Last year, we used some of Trevor's photography. This year, I said, you know what? I think David's art would be really, really cool on this. So everything we're going to see tonight, you've already seen because you've been working on the artwork for it.
Yeah, and I have to say that I think this might be my favorite LegionsCon exclusive stuff. It's just right up my alley. I don't want to give anything away. It's great. This is my favorite so far. So I'm also like kind of beside myself. It's a bizarre series of events that led me here that it's like, it still doesn't quite feel like real life, but I'm just going to roll with it. I'm just going to have a good time and take whatever you guys throw at me.
That's the way to do it. David, I pinch myself all the time. All the time, this stuff happens.
I was going to ask. I was like, do you still feel like it's weird that you work there, you know?
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, at least once a week, I sit back and I just take a breath and realize how blessed I am to be in the position that I am and just how genuinely happy. Like, I am happier than I've ever been in my life right now.
Absolutely.
Like, just every aspect of my life, knock on wood, please don't, curse me for this, but every aspect of my life is where I want it to be right now. And I'm so happy with what I get to do and, the impact I get to make. It's crazy. We make toys, but the impact that we have. So I'm very, very fortunate. And yes, I do pinch myself repeatedly. So let's talk a little bit about this. I mentioned earlier that I get obsessed with things and it reflects in the kind of the ideas that I put forth. This is an example of that. So what we're going to do today, this is going to be a little bit of a different reveal because we're going to actually show these characters. Normally we show a character and then we talk about the character and the pieces that comes with and all that. And then we move on to the next character. For this one, we're going to show all of them because the way that I want to actually read some of the kind of storyline that goes with this. And to do that, I've got to reveal the characters. So we're going to reveal them all. We're going to talk a little bit about the set, reveal them all. Then we'll dig into the characters themselves. And we'll talk about some of the specifics for these figures. These figures are from a story that I call The Tale of the Crossroads. And these are going to be available at LegionsCon 2025, which is Saturday and Sunday, November 8th and 9th. So one of the differences this year, in past years, David, and we were just talking about this before we went live, we used to have like day one figures and day two figures. And the reason we started doing that was so many 2-day cons have a really difficult time getting people to go to that second day. Like everybody goes to the first day and then they bail and the second day is totally dead. So that was the thought process early on, was we need to give people a reason to stay for Sunday. But the thing with LegionsCon is I don't need to get people to stay on Sunday because they already stay till Monday. Like we can't get them out of the hotel. So we kind of realized that splitting the exclusives up across the 2 days wasn't necessary for LegionsCon. So these figures are going to be available on both Saturday and Sunday as long as supplies last. Obviously, if we sell out, then it won't be available.
Perfect. At this point, I think you could have like a Wednesday through Sunday exclusive, and people would go for the whole thing anyway.
People want more.
Always.
Good problem to have. So, David, if you don't mind sitting back for a moment, I'm going to do a little bit of reading, and we'll introduce these characters, and then we'll come around and talk about them.
Perfect.
So, introducing the Tale of the Crossroads. There is a story told throughout mythos about a mysterious crossroads and those who are brave enough or perhaps foolish enough to seek it out. It is unclear whether this tale refers to a specific crossroads or if the exact location of this intersection of pathways is less important than the seeker's intent. What is known is that the crossroads are said to be a gateway to one's deepest desires. Of course, to receive a boon, you must do more than just find the crossroads and select a path. You must also best the keeper that stands upon the road you have chosen. This is the tale as it was first told to me many years ago. I relate it to you now without prejudice or judgment and allow you to choose for yourself what you will believe. It is said that there is an ancient place in mythos known as Du Forthrasane, or the Dark Pathways, more commonly referred to simply as the Crossroads. This area does not appear on any map of the realm, and most believe it to be nothing more than a legend passed down since the earliest days of mythos. The tale of the Crossroads states that finding this hidden place is only the first step of one's journey. Once you have found Du Forthrasane, you must select which path you will walk and which keeper you will face. For one who seeks power, there is the way of the warrior. Powerful and unforgiving, he must be bested in combat by those who hope to achieve victory in battle and enjoy the spoils of a conqueror. Lose to the warrior, and your blood will forever stain the pathway where he stands, as a reminder that he who reaches for glory all too often find that this road ends in the dirt. For those whose hearts are softer and who seek the love of another, the path of the nymph should be chosen. Solve her riddles without going mad, and the boon she will grant you can win the heart of any you desire. Fail to escape from the nymph's challenges, however, and you will be forever in her thrall as one of her mindlessly besotted followers. Transformed into a mouse, you will trail in the nymph's shadow forever, hoping for a glimpse of that which you love but can never have. Opposite of the nymph is her terrible sister, the Charelle. This creature does not promise love but retribution, and those who seek vengeance must walk in her footsteps. Like her sister, to best the Charelle, one must master the puzzle she presents. Those who fail do not give their heart to her, but rather their flesh. The Charelle consumes those she defeats, their souls forever tethered to the unending pain of this monster's existence, while she carries their head in her cage as a warning to others who choose the road of revenge. Finally, the darkest of the path leads to the Revenant. Any who are foolish enough to wish for immortality must face this dreaded apparition. No one knows what horrors await those who tread upon the Revenant's road, for it is said that no one escapes this spirit, finds the immortality they seek is not a gift, but a curse. There is no defeating the Revenant, for death can never be bested. There is an old rhyme that is whispered by those who wish to find the crossroads. It acts as a reminder and perhaps a warning of what it is they seek. It goes like this. Have you heard the tale of the crossroads and the keepers who stand upon its aisles? They will grant a boon to those who seek them out, but first you must pass their trials. 4 choices lie before you. Which road shall you select? Which keeper will you face? Which prize do you wish to collect? Fail to defeat the warrior, and your blood shall forever stain the ground where you fall. If you are unable to solve the nymph's riddles, you will be hopelessly lost in her thrall. Lose to the Charelle in the games that she constructs with a rage, and your soul she will devour, while your head she carries in a cage. Dare to face the Revenant, and with your final breath, you will realize that immortality is lost to you, and there is a face that is truly worse than death. These are the paths before you now. Which road will you choose? Your boon is waiting to be claimed, so long as you do not lose. Make your choice, play their games, and pray you survive the day. The keepers are waiting for you now at the place called Du Forthrossenay. And that right there is the tale of Crossroads that led to the creation of the 4 keepers: the warrior, the nymph, the Charelle, and the Revenant. What do you think, everybody? I saw the comments coming in fast and furious, but I was in the middle of reading. So, David, initial thoughts.
These are so great. Like, these are like mythical characters that don't necessarily feel like they have to fit in anywhere. So it's like just a set of figures you could have that have these personalities to go with these looks. And from a customizer standpoint, this is an incredible amount of parts that we can get.
Wait till you see it. We're going to break these down. A lot of people asking, is this a 4-pack? Is this a 2-pack? So what we're going to see in a few minutes is these are actually 2 individual figures. I mentioned that, what we did with the Furious 4, where we had 2 characters and each of them had 2 different looks, but it was really just swapping heads, right? With that, to turn Lord Bishotti into Pelvicus, it was just a head swap. We wanted to do that here, but take it a step further and have more pieces that could actually be swapped between the figures. So what these are going to be is it's going to be 2 individual figures, and each one of those figures can make one of 2 characters, either the warrior or Revenant or the nymph or the Charelle. We're not going to do them as a 2-pack because one of the things that we realized is, 2-packs do pose a challenge for someone that wants maybe an extra of one, but not of another. So this year we decided to do them as 2 single figures. Now they will be in, deluxe LegionsCon packaging. That's the packaging that you are doing the art for.
Yep.
So you mentioned that these are like mythical beings. That was one of the thoughts here. I said that I get obsessed with things. The idea of a crossroads, right? The idea of this, a deal with the devil at the crossroads. I remember the first time that I personally heard of that was in school reading the story, The Devil and Daniel Webster. So really interesting story about a character that, strikes a deal with the devil. And then we've seen that in so many different kinds of stories. It's one of those very classic tropes, but also this idea of meeting a devil at the crossroads. Around the time that I was thinking about this last year, I saw a really wonderful documentary about the blues musician Robert Johnson. Are you familiar with Robert Johnson, David?
I'm not.
So blues musician that kind of came out of nowhere, like really no one knew who he was, wasn't anything of note, and then kind of disappeared for a little bit. And when he came back, he was amazing, just blow people away type of amazing. And there were always these rumors. He lived a very short life. He died under mysterious circumstances. But it ended up being, a rumor that happened that Robert Johnson met the devil at the crossroads and traded his soul for the musical ability that he had. And it's kind of become just one of those, folk tales that surround themselves around this character. And again, you see this type of, making a deal with the devil in so many different ways. And that idea of, crossroads and striking a deal is what really started this. But I didn't really want to go down the road of just like Old Scratch doing a devil. So this idea of getting to a crossroads, and a crossroads is 4 different paths. Excuse me. And this idea of these 4 different characters that are like these spectral, almost like otherworldly type characters, each one, like, depending on what your heart desires, whether you want to, have victory in battle, whether you want to win the love of another, whether you want revenge on somebody, or whether you want immortality, that's the path you pick. And that is the keeper that you face.
I love that you wrote it in a way that it's not a place, a specific place. Like it could happen at a time in a character's life at any given point where he's begging, the gods or whatever for one thing or another.
Yes.
To almost like appear, like it's like this is your opportunity to get what you want.
Yeah, we don't know. This isn't like a place you have to necessarily find. It's like, is it a place, or is it like if your intention, will it almost find you?
Exactly.
I love that. And part of what I wanted to do too is if anyone who's seen me talk about stuff like this in the past probably knows I love stories within stories. Like that whole setup, I just absolutely love. The example I always use is one of my all-time favorite comic series is The Sandman. And there's an arc in Sandman called World's End, where some travelers find themselves caught in a storm and they suddenly see this strange inn. They go inside, and there were all these travelers from different worlds that have converged on this inn, and they're all stuck in a storm. They're all hiding out from a storm, and they tell stories to pass the time. And I love the idea of stories within stories. So I really got it in my head that I wanted to write a fairy tale for Mythos, a story that I could imagine patrons in one of the inns in Mythos on a dark, stormy night telling this story to other, patrons of that pub, that inn, about the tale of the Crossroads. So this whole idea of, being able to create characters that didn't have to align with any of the factions. None of these characters are aligned with any of our factions because they're all like fantastical, mythical beings that may or may not exist in the actual realm of Mythos.
Yeah. And not to mention the character builds all feel like these characters in the description. Like that warrior looks like a beast with the big pauldrons and the big chest.
Yep.
And we spoke of that waist piece.
Yeah.
That is meant for a minotaur or centaur, right?
Yes. Yeah. The ears. Yeah.
It fits him perfect. And both of the female characters, like, it's crazy because they don't look to have too many part swaps as far as the arms, legs, and torso, but they look like completely different figures.
Very much so. Very much so.
They're sorry. I was just going to say they're just, you can tell that they're put together with just meticulous care.
Yeah.
To look their part.
So people in the chat are all talking about my influences. Someone mentioning Sinners, which I haven't seen. So if this is connected to that in any way, that's a happy accident. Keep in mind, I also wrote this literally last year. Cloud saying that she loves them. I knew Cloud was going to love, especially the Nymph and the Charelle. A couple other people saying I thought that World's End was going to be an influence on this. Yeah, I am somewhat predictable, people. I love what I love. Someone mentioning Outpost Zaxius. Yeah, Outpost Zaxius is a very similar type approach, stories within stories. I love that. But David, let's break these figures down a little bit. So as I mentioned, these are individual sets, so individual packs. So it's basically a single figure pack, if you think about that, with a lot of different pieces in there that you can use to build out one of two characters. So the first one we're going to look at is what we're going to call the warrior and the revenant. It's going to allow you to build one of those two figures. Obviously, the ultimate parts that are in here can be mixed and matched. They're all meant to go together. So you have the ability to swap out the pauldrons or whatever you want, but this is the character build that we came up with for the warrior. And you mentioned earlier that it's a big character. That was important. We wanted to use that heavy chest. That waist armor from a Furious gives it a very interesting type of silhouette, a very thick type of lower piece here, along with those wired soft goods. And even those weapons, I remember when Joe Vassapolo and I were talking about this, and I mentioned that he gets the Zweihander sword and the kite shield. He was like, well, he couldn't have both because that's a two-handed weapon. And I'm like, no, that's why I want him to have it, because this is a character almost like the Mountain from Game of Thrones, that he can wield a two-handed weapon with one hand, no problem.
Yeah, and you pulled it off, man. The guy, he looks like a beast, and that Xylernian guard helmet with the shield down is just, it's an intimidating looking face.
It is.
I like this build a lot. This is another thing, like with the dark color schemes, like these can be used in so many different ways. Yeah. Like this is one of those figures, there's figure packs that there's really no reason not to get it.
Well, on top of that, I love the paint on these. This type of paint job, this super grungy, organic look, not only do I love how it looks, it's really easy to replicate. So this is going to be the type of stuff, if we didn't give you enough in the pack to, like, sate your appetite, this is the type of thing that you can get 3D parts at LegionsCon to put onto this for extra heads or weapons or armor to build out even other options. And it's not a heavy lift to get this type of a grungy look. Absolutely.
Like this is like beginner customizers' dream figures.
Yes.
You can make everything match.
Some people asking what's under the helmet. I will show you that in a few moments. Other people asking if this is the new Knight build. It is. So the arms and legs are essentially the Valiant Knight arms and legs. It's kind of it's the ones that were introduced with Necronominus, but because the first time people had them in hand, it was on the Valiant. So that's kind of the way we talk about it. So this has got that, essentially the Valiant Knight arms and legs. It's got that big, heavy Magnus chest. We just talked about the Furious waist piece and loin. Those pauldrons. These are all pieces we've already seen. That's one of the things that's a challenge with LegionsCon figures, but one that I like to embrace is we have to stay within our library, in part because we need to have these out by a certain point. So if we add new tooling, it's always a challenge to make sure it's ready on time. So everything you see here, these are repainted figures because we have to work within our library. But I think we do a really good job of providing something new within that framework.
Yeah, I think it gets said every time that you guys reveal something similar to this, that the paint goes so far on these figures.
Yeah.
I mean, again, I was telling Jeremy behind the scenes that I've kind of mock built some of these figures to kind of get like an idea of, positioning. I feel like an artist is only as good as his reference. And I have all these parts, but just not like this.
So we've got all these parts here. Now, what I mentioned was, by the way, talking about the colors, one of the things that I had mentioned with this, so I believe Sherry painted this one. And Joe Vassapolo's in the chat, so he can correct me if I'm wrong on that. But, one of the things we had talked about was I almost wanted these characters to be like ultra desaturated. Like I almost wanted them, like when you step into the Crossroads, that almost like the color kind of seeps out of the world. And you're almost in like a black and white kind of world here. So I love the fact that there's such little color on it, and even that leather, it's just so worn and so just desaturated that it really sets that tone here.
Yeah, these colors are so dark. Like they really give an unsettling vibe. Like every character in this set is disturbing, you know?
So speaking of that, the next one we have is the Revenant. So what you'll notice here, and I do have a side-by-side to show in a minute, this is the same set of arms and legs. It's the same soft goods. But as I mentioned, unlike the Furious 4, where it was just like, okay, let's slap a different head on it, we wanted to take it a step further. So this one not only changes the head, and that is the head that first came with the Sir Adalric figure. So Sir Adalric comes with the regular Adalric head and the clean visor, and then it comes with the skull face in the visor, the broken visor. This uses the skull face and the broken visor. But not only do we swap the head, we also swapped the neck armor, the shoulder pads, the torso, the waist armor, and the loin, which what that means is this set comes with not only 2 heads, but it comes with 2 torsos, 2 pieces of neck armor, 2 sets of pauldrons, 2 waist armors, and 2 loin pieces. So this is absolutely, I've heard Curtis say before that the LegionsCon figures are just such a cornucopia of parts. This certainly follows suit with that as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, this and the soft goods are those type of soft goods you can put on anything.
Yes.
And make it look cool. And with the colors being dark, it'll just kind of go with everything.
And everybody, let's be honest, we get an extra Poxus chest with this. Come on. That is like one of the coolest chests in the line, and it's only on Poxus right now. And I see everyone asking for it. Dude, you get an extra Poxus chest with not just like the chest plate, the whole torso is an extra torso.
Are these soft goods are similar to his too, right?
I believe they are. I think they're, I mean, obviously they're a different color, but I think that they are similar to that as well. It's so tough because sometimes we, use a lot of existing soft goods in this.
Sure.
And then other times we have to get new ones done. So sometimes I know we start with one and then have to tweak it. So there are times where I kind of throw out there what I want it to be and I make suggestions. And there are times where, Joe and the team at the studio make some tweaks where I don't even know they made the tweak. I just see the end result and it looks great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Again, these are the type of soft goods that can go on anything from a knight to a barbarian to anything.
So you look here, these are the 2 builds that are achievable. And once again, you can't build 2 figures. You build one of these 2 looks. And this is the build for the warrior, the build for the Revenant. So you can see the parts that get swapped here. And once again, because these all color match, if you would prefer your warrior to have those Poxus pauldrons, you can easily swap that. There's a lot of mixing and matching you can do with these parts to kind of get your preferred build. Even if you get a set, or 2 sets, because to make both of these characters, you will need 2 sets. Even if you do that and you make both of those and you decide to get additional beyond that, there's going to be a wealth of different things that you can mix and match with these.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, such a like a universal color set of armor to go with any torso that you choose to use or anything like that.
So I mentioned that this set is going to be available both days at LegionsCon. In the past, what we've always done is we've had figures that were available at LegionsCon that were in like an exclusive set, and then we've had the standard versions available as well. We are going to do that again this year, but we are making a few changes. So, one of the things that we've realized over the years is that the LegionsCon figures are more expensive than the standard versions. The LegionsCon figures help pay for LegionsCon. It is a very, very expensive show, to actually run. And, Joe and myself, we try to keep prices as low as we can for both exhibitors and for attendees. Part of the way that we do that is through the LegionsCon figures. So one of the things that happened this year at LegionsCon was someone was holding one of the 2-packs, and they said to me, Jeremy, what parts are exclusive to this, to the show version? And I showed them, and the person they were with said, oh yeah, I'll just wait for the standard versions to save money. And it kind of made me realize that what was happening is we made the standard versions for people that can't go to LegionsCon, so they would be able to have access as well. But what we had inadvertently done was created a cheaper option for those figures that people who were actually at the show were going to wait for. So that caused problems in a few different ways. So one of the things we decided to do this year was say, okay, let's create a figure. Let's create a deluxe figure that's going to be a certain price point. And what we charge at the show is going to be the same that we charge for the standard figure. So there will be no price difference between the LegionsCon version and the standard version. I will also point out, I don't know the price yet. I don't know the price of these figures for 2 reasons. Number one, we haven't gotten the pricing back from the factory yet. So that is just a very important piece of, we don't know what these are going to cost us. Additionally, we're living in a world right now with a lot of uncertainty because of tariffs. That's certainly going to play a role as well. So we have to figure out what's going to actually happen with that before we announce what the pricing is going to be. Our goal is to keep it very similar, if not the same, as we've charged in past years. That's what we're trying to do. And that's, hopefully we have an announcement about that as we get closer. But of course, it's not going to be, Terrence is saying $225. No, it's going to be nowhere near that. As I said, in the past, we've charged $50 for the figures at LegionsCon for a single figure. That's what that's the kind of benchmark we're trying to be around. But the single version, the standard version, and the LegionsCon version will both include all these parts, and they will both be the same price. However, what will happen is the LegionsCon version is now going to come with additional parts. So instead of the LegionsCon version being more expensive, has a few more parts, but it's more expensive, now it's going to be that those who go to LegionsCon pay the same price, but they get some bonus stuff in that set as well.
Cool.
Want to see the bonus stuff, David?
I want to see the bonus stuff, Jeremy.
Okay. We're going to show the bonus parts that come only in the LegionsCon edition, and then we'll look at the whole big build of everything here. So this is the first of the bonus parts that come in the LegionsCon edition, and this is that faceplate. This is the faceplate that we see on like the Sir Andrew figure, for instance. This fits right in. So this is, actually a mashup here. This has got some of the warrior parts. It's got the warrior loin. It's got the waist piece that we used on the Revenant. It's got the helmet from the Revenant, but it's got that faceplate as well. For those asking if there's no online sales for LegionsCon figures, that just depends if it sells out. If it sells out at the actual show, then we won't have them to sell online. We usually try to hold a little bit back online. So either way, the standards will be available online. The LegionsCon ones remain to be seen, but I digress. So this is the first of the exclusive pieces. And we're going to get a better look at this in a minute. But just looking at this, that warrior kind of look, this completely gives a new look to that build as well.
Yeah, it's funny because I just got one Sir Adalric. So I had to display him with his human face. And I'm like, where am I going to put this skeleton? The armor's a little bit shiny. I haven't gotten around to painting for a little bit. And so now I'm put in this same situation where now I'm going to have 2 of this character to have the human version and the skeleton version because they both look fantastic. I love the red eyes on this. It could be like a Lady Avarona's situation, whatever that may be. kind of has that look with the dark eyes and the red pupils.
So this is not, and this is an example of team effort at the studio. When I selected this faceplate, because I put together all these parts, these are all builds that I came up with. When Joe got this face, I just intended this to be painted like a regular face.
Mm-hmm.
And he was the one that said, hey, can we paint this to look like Lady Averona? And I was like, yeah, dude, that sounds super, super cool. I had done a custom a while ago, actually using a Xylernian guard head that had a similar type of face paint with the eyes that I called Lord Averona. So I loved that idea, and Sherry did an amazing, amazing job on this. So once again, Joe killed it by suggesting that. So this is the first of the bonus pieces. This can go on either. You could put this on the Revenant if you wanted this to be the human look of the Revenant, or if you prefer this look for the Warrior, you could do that as well. This next one, I think, probably works better on the Revenant. This is the second exclusive piece that you're going to get in that set. And, of course, this is painted. I love that zombie head with those teeth. I thought that as creepy as the Revenant one was, doing more of a zombie type look really would be a cool thing as well. We had to figure out what color to use. So painting it scaphoid green just made a lot of sense.
Perfect.
And yes, this is exactly scaphoid green. If you put this on an extra scaphoid figure, it's a bonus head for your scaphoid.
Absolutely. So with these packs, one thing to like calm anybody's nerves, like for example, like I'll probably buy 4 of these, you know, one of each. And because they each come with all of these parts, there's gonna be plenty of extras. Like I think at some point I was just giving away the red vampire head from LegionsCon last year. So though it seems, scary to not get the exclusive, this community is pretty good about helping people out. So if all you want is a scaphoid head zombie, chances are you'll be able to get it for way less than you'd find on eBay.
And we do make a decent amount of these for the show.
Oh, yeah.
The only one we've ever sold out of at the show, of course, is Sir Gerard.
Of course.
But in all honesty, that was the lowest one. Right? The Sir Gerard, that was the first one we did. We didn't know how many to make. So there's literally half as many Sir Gerards produced as all of the other ones.
Absolutely.
But we have not sold out in the last few years for LegionsCon figures. So literally, if you know someone who's going, they shouldn't have a hard time picking up an extra set for you if that's what you want. Or to your point, David, there's a lot of people that swap parts. Hell, at LegionsCon, we actually do a part swap, that Chris James runs that does stuff like this.
Yeah. Yeah, it's, again, it says a lot about the community too, that you can get what you're looking for if you need it.
For sure.
Go ahead.
So there is one more bonus piece in the LegionsCon version, because it would not be a LegionsCon if this head was not included. I have found a way to include the Gorgo helmet in every single LegionsCon to date. So we are now at the point where I now apparently have to do it. So it worked out great to put that figure into this set. And honestly, man, I put it in there just because I wanted to do it. I thought it was kind of funny, but it looks really cool.
Yeah, I still think that's the toughest head in the line. Like it's the meanest head out of all of them. So the LegionsCon thing is a quirky, funny thing to include one in every set. But this build is awesome. Like it's a perfect knight head. If you're not a big fan of the original, warrior head, this looks just as scary,
So this is the full build, and I did say that I would show the head underneath the helmet. I've got that here. I've got a close-up of it later on as well. That's more of a behind-the-scenes one that we can check out as well. But this is what you're going to get. And again, I love this build. I love this look. It really feels like I've seen, for instance, Dennis Derby do a lot of customs like this that use similar tones and similar palettes and everything. And it has that eerie sense to it. And that's exactly what we were trying to capture. And I'm very excited for the look we got here. And once again, looking at the full build out, two sets of pauldrons, 2 torsos, 2 sets of waist armor and loins, all those different weapons, 3 belts. And the LegionsCon version, the standard version, comes with 2 different heads. The LegionsCon version will have 4 heads plus an extra faceplate.
Yeah, that's a pretty big loadout, man. And I love that you guys did the neck for the zombie. That's just kind of, that's how cool the company is.
Yeah.
They're like,
got to put it in there. Got to put in the neck. It's like, hey, yeah, we could have just used the armored neck and it would work, but
sure,
come on. It's cool to include that, right?
Absolutely.
So that's what we've got. This is the set. That's the Warrior and the Revenant. Once again, if you're just tuning in, what we're going to tell everybody is the price is still to be determined on this. Typically the standard, like the regular versions, are about $50. That's what we're shooting for. We're trying to get around that. So hopefully it will be close to that once everything comes in for this year's pricing, but that's what we're trying for. This is a single figure. You're going to get all of this in that LegionsCon set. And that brings us, David, to the next one. So the next 2-pack are the ladies. These are the first female figures that are exclusive for LegionsCon. And as much as I love the Warrior and the Revenant, this is the build that personally I was the most excited for. I love this idea of like Dark Fae and, like the whole land of Fury and everything. I've done a number of Dark Fae customs over the years. This really, to me, was one that I was so excited for. And I was so happy that when I went to Eric and was like, because remember, I put this build together before Ghost of Christmas Past was even released. And I was like, can I use the Ghost of Christmas Past head like immediately? And when the idea was, and he saw how cool it would look and how different it looks painted this way, he was fully on board.
Yeah. Well, Eric has always sculpted really pretty females. But as we get more and more, as we'll see both in this set, like the Ghost of Christmas Past is gorgeous. Like she is such a pretty sculpt. And to have it painted with like the black eyes and the black lips just gives it a totally different look. I actually, when you sent me these images, when I started drawing, I couldn't figure out what head that was for a second. I was like I was looking at Thrace. I was like, did they resculpt the Lulith? Like, what am I missing here? And then I realized with the hair, and these parts, like the torso of Poxus is one thing that we're getting that we've all just been clamoring for. And this torso has been so few and far between.
Yes.
I'm so excited to get this torso in hand again. And I love those little wings. That was my favorite part of Artemis.
I know, right?
Version 2. It's just like the simplest little thing, but it's like it just differentiates her from every other character.
Yep.
So I'm excited to get another couple of sets of wings.
Yeah, and story-wise, I love, so, the story starts with the Warrior, and the Warrior is like very much like, I want to be a conqueror, I want to succeed in battle, and, it's just a very typical, like, I'm going to fight this character, either I'm going to defeat him, and the boon, because I mentioned that you're granted a boon, so the boon is basically that you are essentially an unconquerable, warrior. You get to go and be, a ruler and a conqueror. But when we got to the next one, it's so different. Like the nymph is so different where I wanted her, like the cue here was like, I want her to be beautiful and terrifying at the same time. Like she is, you go to her because you want to win the love of another. And if you lose to her, you basically become like her, I say mindlessly besotted followers.
Yeah.
I wrote in that she turns you into a mouse and you trail around her. Guess what? She comes with the mouse from Ganesh.
Yeah, I noticed that.
Because I thought that would be really fun. And originally, we'll talk. So originally, her sister, the Charelle, has a head in a cage. Originally, it was supposed to be a rat. The Charelle was going to turn you into a rat and carry you around. That was part of the original fairy tale. And then Joe sent me a photo of the cage not fitting on the rat. And he's like,
oh, no.
that's not going to work. So we had to change it around. And that's when we came up with the head, which we're going to look at that in a moment and how ingenious that ended up being. But I thought the rat was going to get dumped from the set. And then I realized, no, it was in the paint tray. So they just painted the darn thing up and included it. So I was like, well, now I have to work the rat into the story. So I ended up giving the rat to the nymph. But yeah, I love this build. Once again, I love the parts you get. The nymph and the Charelle has far less like extra parts than the first set does. Just because there aren't as many parts for the 2.0 females. And there weren't as many parts that made sense to swap between the two. So it's a little bit less, but I think like you pointed out that they're very different character looks when you see them side by side, which we'll see in a moment.
Yeah, and it's almost like if you were to throw in a bunch of random 2.0 parts, it would feel pretty disingenuous. Like it would be, there's kind of no reason for it. Considering, I mean, just that big hood covers up the whole body anyway.
And I didn't want to do like armored lower legs or lower arms. Like,
no.
I wanted her to be, have a lot of bare skin, which I should also point out, by the way, that these figures are painted to match Alithia and Thrace. So
nice.
The skin tones are exactly the same as Alithia and Thrace. So you absolutely can mix and match those parts as well, which again, just, thinking through like, hey, we've got to paint this a ghostly white. Well, we've already got characters that are ghostly white. So let's just match that and give people more mixing and matching options.
That's unheard of in the toy industry. Like, I don't think there's a single Spider-Man that has the same color head as any of the human characters in any of the waves. So this is going to just open up all the possibilities for customs in that aspect.
Yeah, for sure.
Again, because that Alithia body is few and far between these days.
Yep. So the exact opposite of the nymph, like the nymph is beautiful, like terrifying, but beautiful. I wanted her sister, the Charelle, to be a monster, like very, very monstrous. And, in some ways, this almost has like a bit of a Baba Yaga type like feel in some ways. I know Baba Yaga is often represented as more of like an old woman. But that was kind of the vibe that I wanted to go for here. So, again, not a lot of body parts change here. It's the exact same body from head to, not from head, from neck to feet, basically. But you add that belt from Belualith on that's got all that, those skulls and so forth hanging from it. You add that robe on it, which, here you can kind of see her face, but I almost even imagine displaying it. That's actually the robe from Altar, the Greyborn in the Cosmic Legions, which that robe has got like a massive hood.
It's a huge hood, yeah.
It's a huge hood. So you can really bring that over and like hide her face in it pretty much and just have the hair trailing down. That face is from Belualith, but even that, like with that white here and everything looks so different from Belualith.
Yeah, this is it's a situation where it's like you'll be hard pressed to make an ugly character with a treadaway sculpt, but you pulled it off with like the white hair and the white skin and the monstrous face paint. But she's pretty, man. I love it.
And then you got obviously that hook. So she's got the hook. You can same lower part of the staff, but you swap out the top part, and now you've got this cage piece that also came with Belualith. It was funny. So the thought process here is we were like, okay, the rat doesn't fit. What about if we put a head in there? Let's put another zombie head and let's paint that one to match Scaphoid as well. That'll be fun. But the head was just kind of rattling around. So that like piece of wood that it's on, the old Series 1 magic topper that's like a wooden piece with an orb on top?
Yeah.
Is that what that is? Dude, that orb, you can pop a 1.0 head on that orb.
Uh-huh.
So what that is that piece fits. If you look at Belualith's cage, where like the kind of rock piece, the wood piece comes up, this fits pretty much right in there. And then the head pops right on top. So it ends up looking like this cool like piece of wood that the head is sitting on top of.
That's pretty cool. I was going to ask how that was put in there. And not to mention that cage is such a cool accessory.
Yeah. Dude, she's got a head in a cage. Like she devours. So if you lose to her, she devours your flesh and soul. And then she takes your head and she puts it in a cage that she carries around as a warning to whomever is going to walk her path. Come on. Like, yeah, that's creepy. An awesome build.
Yeah, she's great. She's fantastic. And I love the use of like the stringier hair.
Yeah.
It's just a creepy character. And that belt is full of weird stuff.
And then, I mean, like, look at this from the back. You see how voluminous that cape is. Obviously, when Trevor's taking these shots, he needs to show the figure. But you can absolutely position this figure in that robe so she's, like, almost, like, enveloped in it.
Yeah.
So
that's a cool build.
Once again, this is a single figure with two different looks. This set also comes with some exclusives from LegionsCon. Whenever we do the exclusive parts, we always kind of build the characters first, and then we say, okay, those are the character looks. What pieces can we include that would enhance them? And I think as we saw with the Warrior and Revenant, the pieces that we included just give you some alternate looks that you can use for those characters. We wanted to do something here as well. We wanted to do a different possible head for the Nymph and a different possible head for the Charelle. So for the Nymph, I get ahead of myself. I'll come back to this slide in a minute since I already started talking about the exclusive parts. For the Nymph, we ended up repainting the Zeri head from Cosmic Legions, because once again, that still has that like sense of beauty. She's got the kind of elven type ears. So I think this also works very, very well as a Fae type character.
Yeah, the Zeri head is such a good sculpt.
Yeah.
It's just cool to see her in another color scheme. I like the same, it still has the same eyes, same makeup. But yeah, yet again, another one that you're like, well, I got to get a few more sets.
Now, I think possibly my favorite bonus head, one of the things that I love to do at LegionsCon, kind of as a thank you to all of the fans who support these, is give them a head that is really hard to find, right? Yeah. So last year, the Atlas head was included in that set, and people had been clamoring for an Atlas head. We also included the King Bromden head, right? Those are two heads that are so hard to find. Even going back to the original, putting the scapular head in Sir Gerard, at the time, that head was so hard to find. So I love being able to do that. So thinking, what other kind of character head can we put into this set that would be a really good alternate look for the Charelle? And that was Queen Urxa.
That's so cool.
Dude, I love the way this looks. Like,
this is awesome.
Dude, whether you use this as the Charelle or you use this as just like an offshoot of Orcs, this head I think looks great in this set.
She has got one of my all-time favorite Legions heads, like easily. She's just so unique, and I have one of her. It's the only time I've ever seen her available, and this was in 2020. But yeah, this head is kind of a mic drop moment for this set, I think, because again, now you have just an Orc shaman, just as easily.
I mean, this picture also shows that extra little wood piece that comes in the cage. Mm-hmm. It's a staff topper, so you can pop it on the staff, and you can see here how that zombie head just fits on top. That green zombie head, by the way, that's not exclusive to the LegionsCon version, so that one is available in both of the versions to give you an extra alternate scaphoid head that you can use as well.
Yep. Yeah, this is cool, man. I love it.
So let's look here. So again, these are the two builds, just like what we just did, what we saw for the Warrior and Revenant. These are the two builds here. So you can see even less swapping between the two than we saw in the first set. But two distinct characters. You know, you could remove some of that jewelry on one of them to change it up even more if that's what you wanted to do. Again, I think just two very cool characters, four very cool characters. I'm personally very excited for this set.
Yeah, me too. This is one of those things that I'm excited to find a spot for just the four of them.
Yeah.
You know, like I'll have the other bits and pieces throughout the display, but this is a particularly cool group of characters.
I think so too.
They're super complementary to each other. Just like I said, this is my favorite LegionsCon set of all time so far.
I love to hear that. So this is the full build out for the Nymph and the Charelle. This is what you're going to get in the LegionsCon version. Of course, the Queen Urxa head and the Zeri head, those will only be in the LegionsCon version. But this is the full build out. And it includes some stuff we didn't see in some of those other photos. I mean, the rat we didn't see in the photos, although I mentioned it. We didn't see some of those belt pouch type things that you can add on. And we didn't see that knife that we gave her as a weapon as well. This was actually a little bit of a tougher one because while the Warrior and the Revenant come with a bunch of weapons, this is an example where like she's terrifying in a very different way. And we didn't see her wielding like a big sword or something. So just that blade is so wicked, like looking with like an antler and like a razor that I think that worked really well.
Yeah. Some of those old weapons were pretty gnarly, man. Like the Revenant comes with that other sword that I always thought was just a bizarre sword with like the horns on the side and the handle. That's just a brutal weapon as well.
Yeah. I've always loved that weapon.
Oh, me too.
Because it almost like it's not a scimitar, because a scimitar is such an elegant looking sword. So it's almost like, well, what if we made a scimitar? What if an orc made a scimitar using like really harshly hammered metal and horns? And that's what it's looked like to me, like an orc making a scimitar, and it just comes out brutal looking.
Yeah. And you know those belt pieces, the like finger bones and then the like little bird skull? I bought so many of the Poxus weapons packs because of those things, or the accessory packs. Like I put those on all of my like orcs and evil characters, just like bones on their belts look really cool. So this will be a cool set to get just a ton of that stuff.
So again, when you think about this set, you know, as I mentioned, these are deluxe sets. That's the point here. I mean, this has got the LegionsCon version of this set has 5 different heads.
Yeah.
And
That's
that's something that we've done with these LegionsCon sets is just load them up with these parts.
Yeah, I've been responsible for bringing home some exclusives for a few people, and
Mhm.
it's it's crazy to unbox them all at the hotel and just have these massive bags of parts, and it's just one figure. Like, okay,
Yeah.
well, here's the Magnus, you know, uh, LegionsCon exclusive figure that comes with
Yeah.
hands, gauntlets, backpack, different guns. Like,
Yeah.
these things are loaded, man. So it's like it's they're
Yeah.
really worth the price of the ticket.
So we do have a question here. Legion's lady saying, "What about the other waist piece from the nymph? That is
Oh,
actually under that belt. So the belt from Belualith that's got the whip and all those skulls and the chain, that's just a belt that slides over the other waist piece that you saw in the nymph. So that's just under that in this photo." And then
and
William
that
asked if those are wings. Yes, those are the wings that you saw on the back of the nymph.
and the belt that she has is like the old Goblin belt, right?
Yeah, the old goblin. It was on the Goblin Legion builder. It's one of the
Yeah.
few that doesn't have like side armor,
Mm-hmm.
so it kind of works well because you know at first I wanted to use the wraps from the Red Death
Oh,
because I've
okay.
actually done a custom with it wasn't the wraps from Alithia like we have, here. It was actually, you know what? I actually don't know if this torso is the Alithia one or if this is the Bastet one. I'm not positive which one it is because the Bastet and the Alithia, it's the same lower piece, but it's a different upper piece. So,
Yeah, I think this is the one that has patterns on it.
so I think that's the
Whichever.
Alithia.
Yeah, I think it's Alithia.
That's what I had asked for. I had asked for the Alithia one, so I figured that's what it was.
Mm-hmm.
But I've done a custom with like one of those torsos with the wraps from the Red Death, and they don't work perfectly because they're two different textures, but it's
Mm-hmm.
not bad. But it just functionally doesn't go together right. Like I had to actually like slice out the middle of it.
Yeah, and
So
you
it's
have to
one of the, yeah.
consider the general public. Like, they're like, why is this loose, or why doesn't this fit right?
Exactly. So we couldn't use that one. So that's one of the
Mm-hmm.
things where we only have, you know, so many of our parts are meant to be armored characters. They're very
Mm-hmm.
fighty. So when you're trying to design a character that's a little more elegant or creepy
Mm-hmm.
and doesn't have lots of armor, it's difficult sometimes to find those parts to use. This one worked really well because it's a minimum amount of armor. It doesn't have the big parts that come down the side of the legs.
Yeah, and it fits the character fine. Like,
Yep.
I'm not going to argue with her that she's wearing a metal belt.
So putting them side by side, again, this is not a 2-pack. These are 2 single packs. But in the past, we would have put this together in a 2-pack. And if you do buy them both, if you want to get the set, this really shows you everything that you're going to get just in one set. Again, you will need to buy at least 2 of each figure if you want to build out all 4 of the Crossroad characters.
Yeah, which is totally reasonable.
Yep.
I can't wait to get all these things.
Few other photos that I'll share here. So this is a better shot, a close-up shot of the head that's underneath that faceplate. I love that sculpture. Like when we used that first on the Xylernian guard, I almost felt bad that it was an elven type character, so it didn't
Mm-hmm.
have the eyes painted and everything, because it is such a great human sculpture. And then we
It
used
really
it
is.
again on the the Joe Russo angel figure. But even that, this is really just wanting to do another version of this that just would be. I mean, if you don't want to use this as a kind of dark, character at a Crossroads,
Mm.
this build is just like a brutal looking knight.
Yeah, he just looks. He's a tough-looking human. I thought it
Yeah.
was smart to not use the red eyes on this.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's something you can do if you want to make this guy's eyes red, but it's cool because you can pop this off and put it on an old Armory Knight or any of your Knight characters. Again, this color scheme is so universal.
And again, in the LegionsCon version, this is just one of the heads you're going to get. Here's some close-ups of that other head. So, again, the Revenant is the skull faceplate that's under this by default, but that bonus faceplate that comes with LegionsCon, that's what you get to see here. And again, that's another just wonderful sculpture. That is such a strong looking face in those red eyes with that kind of almost like eyeliner. It just, man, it gives it such a deep feel.
Yeah, and it won't be till All-Star 6 that we actually have this head in hands, right? Mm-hmm. It's because this is Andrew.
Yes, that is Sir Andrew.
So it's cool to see it like just cell phone photograph, like getting to see really kind of how tough this face looks.
Yes, Joe is pointing out that these are Teaser Tuesday photos, by the way.
Oh.
Which is a good point. I'm going to just do this real quick. I'm going to remove this and just look at the other photos that I have here to make sure I'm not about to share anything that shouldn't be shared. Sometimes I forget that that's a thing. Nope, these all look safe, Joe. Nothing lying in the background there that we can't say. So we saw this earlier, just another shot, and really shows the griminess of that. I always refer to this as the Urzok look, the Urzok paint look, because that was the first time that I saw it. That kind of just dirty metal. That a lot of dry brushing on it, got some dirt on it and some browns. This is probably one of my favorite things to paint. And it's my favorite thing to show new painters how to paint because it's really easy to do and it's so much bang for your buck.
Yeah, this is, we did that at LegionsCon 22, 23, where we showed paint session, basically how to make this paint job work with like just a black base and a light dry brush.
Yep. I think I was painting a deluxe skeleton. You were painting a deluxe barbarian, right?
Yeah. And I love that this is the Gorgo 2, with the kind of added features to it.
Yep. Yeah, just a little bit extra. We've used both of them. So we used last year it was Gorgo 1 that came in the Garch Gaspar pack. The year before it was Gorgo 2 that came with Vorgus Vermilius. The year before that, there was the standard one that came with Unknown one, and the year before that was Sir Gerard. So it's been every single year.
Yep. Yeah, what a good sculpt too.
So this is an example of that one of those zombie heads that we've got available across these two. So this is the one that is painted like Scaffold, as I mentioned. This is the bonus head that comes with the Warrior and Revenant figure. And then finally, this is a better shot of that head in the cage. This is literally the shot that Joe sent me when he discovered that this would work. Like we were going back and forth saying like, okay, how does the head look? And he sent me a shot that was just a head like way in the bottom of the cage. And I was like,
I think that's the photo you sent me. I was like, so I just thought it was at the base of the base of the cage, but this is fantastic, man. This looks really cool.
And when Joe sent me this, he was like, boom. And I was like, that's it right there. That's it. So there we go. I'll go back a little bit. I'll go back to this one here. So that's what we've got tonight. One thing I will point out, a couple of the things that we mentioned, just to do a quick rundown. So these will be available at LegionsCon November 8th and 9th. We're not doing a day 1 and day 2 exclusive. These figures are going to be available both days of the con as long as we don't sell out. So, obviously we're limited to what we've got on hand, but as long as they don't sell out, they will be available both days. Price is still to be determined. these are two different sets. So as you can see here, this is the Revenant and Warrior set or the Nymph and Charelle set. That's how they're going to be sold on both days of the con. One thing I will point out is these are two different figures that make four different characters. I think some people might be thinking that this is all we're doing this year exclusive for LegionsCon, but no, this is just the first group of LegionsCon exclusives that we are showing. So we have not shown our whole hand yet. We are 6 months out, which, by the way, that's insane that we're literally, tomorrow is May, which is about 6 months away from LegionsCon, but we still have more to reveal coming to LegionsCon. This is just the start. So start saving now because it is going to be an awesome event with a lot of cool stuff to come home with.
Yeah, man, this is going to be a cool year.
So David, any additional thoughts on this, or, tell us a little bit about the art that you're working on for these characters?
Well, I've been a toy person my whole life. Like, I didn't go through that awkward phase where I was like, I don't really like toys. I gotta chase girls or whatever. I still did all that stuff, but I was just the guy who bought toys. Like,
Yeah.
They're like, oh, he's the drummer for my band. He's got Ninja Turtles. But one thing that never changed ever since I was a kid is I used to draw my figures. Like, I would set up a toy and I would just draw my toy. And getting to do this, and even with most of the stuff that I draw that is Legions based, I have that figure in hand right in front of me. So it's cool to have an opportunity to do this for something. I get to draw toys like I always did. But as far as the artwork is going, I'm almost there. I think a couple of tweaks here and there. I went through an iPad, just stopped working. It was kind of weird. It was like I took it into the AT&T store, and my pencil didn't work, and I was like, all right, I just need to get a new pencil. And so I got the pencil, and they had me test it out, and it wouldn't read it. So they were like, oh, well, okay, we'll just, you got to reset it. We went through it. At this point, there's 4 employees trying to get an Apple Pencil to read on this iPad. And they were like, well, it looks like it's a weird situation. You can leave it here and we can go send it out for repairs. I'm like, I need my iPad today.
Yeah.
So I ended up just getting a brand new iPad. I currently have an iPad that will not receive an Apple Pencil whatsoever. But now I can kind of draw during our chats, and I'm back on the move. So I got some stuff ready.
So does the other iPad still work, just not for the one thing you really use it for the most?
Absolutely. Yeah. I'm on. That's what I'm talking to you on. This is my streaming iPad now. Like, I do nothing else with it. Because I have a couple of guys in the Cabal that we get together every other night. We just hang out and I'll have a beer and play video games, and they'll work on dioramas or whatever. And this is just my chat iPad now.
No. There you go. I love it.
I'm a guy with 2 iPads.
So Curtis says, Jeremy, thanks for all you do with these LegionsCon sets. They are truly the best figures to hand someone new to the line. It immediately introduces them to the modularity. Thank you very much for that comment, Curtis. That is not accidental. We very much, want to do that with these. Like, we know that we get a lot of first timers at LegionsCon. Like, we get a lot of new fans, and they get excited about the exclusives. I want them to open those up and be overwhelmed in like a good way. Like, I want them to just be like, these are insane. I got all this stuff for this price. There are so many options. These are fun. It's funny because the first LegionsCon figure was Sir Gerard. And while there wasn't a lot of like pop and swap necessarily within that box, I made that character a changeling specifically so you could put any head on it and it would be canon. Like I was like, dude, put your favorite head on this figure and it works. It can be part of the lore. And that was very intentional. And then ratcheted that up with the Furious 4 set being like, I want people to mix and match these figures. I want them to play with it. And then even to this year with the the amazing Alien and Creature Creator. I mean, that set was 100% made not only to say, hey, all these parts work together thematically and color-wise. That one was like, dude, these are crazy ass experiments. Go nuts. Make some wacky stuff. And it could all make sense as these Tusk experiments. So I appreciate that comment, Curtis. It's very intentional. And while these two figures aren't going to swap necessarily with each other, like because it's a 1.0 build and a 2.0 build, I think we've included enough within those boxes there, along with an easy paint job to replicate and a match to, Thrace and the Lithia, that you're going to have a lot of fun playing with these toys. David, any last words from you? Anything you want to leave?
I'm really excited. I am even more excited to find out that this is not the only set of exclusives, which is what I was I thought this was going to be Saturday, Sunday type of thing. So, I'm honestly.
You don't know the others. You aren't doing the art for the others, so you don't know what the others are.
Yeah. So it's nice.
And I just said others, and that's a plural word.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm happy this is out in the open. Even this morning, I woke up to a slew of messages that are like, "What is it? Is it pins? Is it what?" All this crazy stuff, and I'm like, "Man, your job seems hard. Like just to not mention this stuff."
I've said before that it's fun because you get excited to finally reveal this stuff. There is very much like a kid on Christmas morning type thing, being able to, be a parent and reveal, their prized presents to the kid on Christmas morning. But it only goes so far. Like there's a point where you live with something for so long and it's so close to you that you're like, I just need to share this. I just need to get this out. That's why, I always say, like with Figure Obscura, I'm so excited once Dorklear gets his review figure because I finally can talk to it about something.
You have someone to talk to.
And same thing with you. When I sent you these images, I was thrilled to be able to do it because I could finally talk to someone outside of our studio team about it.
Yeah. And not to mention, like, it didn't take anything away from tonight. Like, I was just as excited to be here and show people what these are as I was when you started sending me these images. Because, I mean, it's a whole rollout, there's a story, there's you get to kind of like piece out everything, what comes with what. And, so I was happy to experience it early, but to be here for the reveal, it was just as exciting.
Yes. Very exciting stuff. And once again, it blows my mind that we are in, April right now. Like we are just getting to May. I was looking at some photos today of something that's coming up, not a LegionsCon thing, but just something that's coming up. And I was just like, oh my goodness. It wasn't Teaser Tuesday. It was Teaser Wednesday today. And I was just like blown away by how excited I was for these new things. And again, now that I've got this revealed, I can start looking and getting excited for the next thing we get to reveal for everybody. It really is a very special place to be. And dude, I'm so excited for LegionsCon. It's 6 months away. I was talking to Joe Viteri about some stuff today. We're just getting some ducks in a row. The fact that the hotel is already sold out right now. We're working on getting the overflow hotel set up. But just to see the buzz, we've already sold already at this point, we've sold maybe, I think, like 40% as much tickets as we sold all of last year already.
Oh, wow.
We're 6 months out. We just put them up for sale like a month ago or whatever.
Yeah.
So the interest is absolutely there. And we both know that as cool as the toys that we're going to have revealed there and debut there and all that, everyone you talk to about LegionsCon and you say, what's your favorite thing? Every one of them says it's the people. So knowing that there's this much interest and this many people coming just makes me realize what a special year this is going to be once again.
Absolutely. I can't wait to see everybody again. I mean, again, the toys are going to be awesome. The booths are going to be awesome. But yeah, it's just the one day a year I get to see all my buds.
I know.
For 1 week. I think we've just made it in almost a week, you know?
Well, I love the fact that earlier you said that after seeing the 2021 LegionsCon from home, you were like, I'm not missing that again. I'm going to fly out to this one-day event that's in a gym. And you actually, what you flew out to was actually a 2-day event that was at the La Quinta, which, you know, it's funny because I look back on all the old LegionsCons with a lot of fondness. And like the last 2 and this upcoming one have all been at the same location. And we love that location. It's so special. But do you think back to that La Quinta show with just like a lot of fondness?
It was so cool. Like, it was almost like everybody didn't know each other yet.
Yeah.
So it was like, because, you know, by 2023, we all we had all the stories from 2022 with the elevator and the alcohol cart and who stays up the latest and all of these crazy things. So it's like we went into 2023 as like pros, but that 2022 was just, I like, when I got home, I couldn't explain how great it was to my coworkers. They were like, how was your thing? I was like, I don't know. It was like the best weekend of my life somehow. They were like, what'd you do? I'm like, I just hung out and drank beers.
That's really it.
That's it. And I bought toys and I made a bunch of friends. But so it's our Super Bowl, man. It's the thing I look forward to from the moment it's over until it happens again.
2022 was just so gritty. Like,
it was
that hotel, like they loved us and they were so cool to us. But that hotel, I mean, it was obviously kind of run down. There was a lot of stuff that didn't work, but it was just like, it was fun to be there. Like, it was just cool. And everyone was just making the best out of it. Like people that were in line for hours that were just like being cool, as you know, because we were running around trying to fix things and improve the line speed. I mean, I remember Joe and I like literally in the line being like, dude, is anyone here just in line for the exclusives? And we were just selling figures out of like boxes in line and stuff. It was absolutely crazy, but Sunday was a little bit more polished. Yeah. But it was chaos, man. It was definitely a little too big for its britches, like on day one. So it's like the fact that we got this new bigger venue is, you know, says just how great the show is. But 2022 is something special that I truly don't think that we'll ever get again. Yeah. So it was real extra special to be a part of it. Yeah, part of that. One of your fellow denizens from Zone A saying, that's how I met Jeremy officially, slanging exclusives in line.
Yeah, and that's where I met Thomas. Outside smoking cigarettes. Yeah, turns out we live 2 hours away from each other.
Crazy. Absolutely crazy to hear that stuff. Well, everyone, thank you so much for tuning in this evening. I will be posting the photos for these figures on the official channels tomorrow. I'll get them up on the website and everything. So all this information will be up there. David, thank you very much for joining me tonight. If you are in the California area, go check out David this weekend up near Sacramento, West Coast Mythic Meetup. That's going to be an absolute blast. Can tell David how much you've liked this conversation tonight and how excited you are to hopefully see him at LegionsCon.
Hell yeah.
With
Awesome.
that,
Thank you for having me, man.
Absolutely, man. Stick around. I'm going to play some happy music, and then you and I can talk in the green room.
All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye, everyone.